Well, hey y'all, welcome to the GrahamStead. My name's Jenny. I also want to touch base with y'all about a unfortunate incident that we had happen here on our farm. The farm lessons have been coming hard and fast here. So now that the dust has settled a little bit, I wanted to share that with y'all. But first, I gotta feed the lambs. If you can hear in the background, everybody's mooing at me. The pigs are squealing at me, so I got to get everybody fed first. So y'all come along. Hey pigs! We've had a lot of rain here lately, so their feeding area is a little flooded out right now. Hey, big mama. The rambunctious pigs totally just flung mud up on my face. About 2 weeks ago, all the drama started with the sheep. We had twin lambs born on the farm, and boy, are they cute. Unfortunately, they were born with something called white muscle disease, which is a selenium deficiency. Their mother rejected them at birth because they could not stand on their own. They quickly became our farm's very first bottle babies. The first day was touch and go with the lambs, as I was not prepared for bottle babies. I didn't even have any of the supplies that I needed. Luckily, some farm friends were able to quickly fill in the gaps for me and get me some bottles, some colostrum, and some goat milk for these babies. My farm friends were so gracious to me these first 2 days. They were even able to give me some medication and some selenium that my lambs needed in order to gain the strength to walk from the white muscle disease. Once we got to day 3 with the lambs, they were actually both up on their feet and trying to walk. They were quickly nicknamed Wagger, who wags her tail all the time when she has her milk, and Stagger, who just couldn't walk without his funny stagger. While having the lambs to bottle feed, it really was fun, and they sure are cute. But man, trying to bottle feed something every 2 to 3 hours definitely wore me out. Little did I know that I was just starting the beginning of a huge lesson that I was going to be taught about livestock preparedness. And then this happened. Daisy decided that it was time to have her calf. And while Daisy, our 14-year-old cow, did amazing calving, this calf seemed to have some problems right from the beginning as well. It was really hot that day, and the sun was out in full force. Daisy dropped that calf right in the middle of the pasture. Over the next couple of hours, Daisy really did try to rouse that calf to get her up on her feet, and she did actually make it up onto her feet, but fell back down pretty quickly and never nursed early on. After a couple of hours of the calf being out in the sun, I think she got a little overheated and possibly a little dehydrated. That's when I made the call to go ahead and move her to the back. Once we got back to the catch pen, I was able to milk out Daisy. She gave me 2 full bottles of colostrum for the calf. Throughout that day and up to midnight that night, I continued to bottle feed the calf the colostrum. By the next morning, thank the Lord, the calf was nursing on her own. It ended up being an iron deficiency. That's why the calf had a poor suckle and couldn't stand. She just didn't have the energy. Within a week, we noticed that the neighbor's bull was on the fence line. He consistently stayed on that fence for 3 days. On our side of the fence was Hershey, who's our best mama cow. Truth be told, Hershey didn't leave that fence line for 3 days either. A good friend of mine told me that most cow accidents happen when cows are going through their heat cycle. And boy, we were about to find out exactly what she was talking about. In the middle of the night, Hershey decided that she was going to try to go through that barbed wire fence to get to that bull. The next morning when I saw Hershey, I was shocked. The lacerations from the barbed wire fence were severe. We immediately started cleaning up the wounds on her legs. But once again, I was not fully prepared for this. I was not prepared for this big of an accident. You can see how swollen her legs were. I needed an anti-inflammatory for Hershey and some vet wrap. As the day went on, I realized that I really needed more than that. I thought that I needed a vet. Hershey just was not walking right. Did she maybe have more injuries? Maybe a hip injury or a pelvis injury? I just didn't know, so I called the vet. And that leads me to my second hard lesson in this story. The vet that I called, that I thought I was established with, I thought I was his client, it had been 1 year and 2 months since he had been to my home. Therefore, he could not come out and see me. They require a visit every year. Even though it was an emergency, I was stuck without a vet on a Friday. After calling around to a couple of different vets, I finally got a call back from an older gentleman, kind of in our area, that's a livestock vet. He was so kind. He was more than happy to talk with me over the phone about what was going on with Hershey. He gave me his recommendations of a broad-spectrum antibiotic, and he also wanted to go ahead and put her on some painkillers and just give her some rest to see how she would do, see how she's going to be in the next few days. After doing a little bit of scrambling to get the antibiotics and the painkillers, Hershey was more than happy to hold still for us to get a few injections to help with the pain. That night, she was finally able to lay down for the first time since her accident. I really think that she got some good rest that night and the next morning was able to get up. Now that a couple of days have passed, Hershey really is moving around a lot better. She's still walking very slow, but her wounds are healing really nicely, and it doesn't look like they're getting infected at all. She does still seem to be favoring her back legs a bit when she walks around, but she's making progress. She's been out in the pasture grazing and hasn't had any issues getting up and down, so we're really happy with that. I do really think that Hershey's going to pull through and she will be fine. I think it's just going to take some time. She is a big cow, and I think getting tangled up in that barbed wire fence, she probably came down and came down hard. So the other question is did she get bred? We're really going to have to pay attention to see if she has another heat cycle coming up here and definitely come up with a better plan than being on the fence with the bull. Because as you can see, he's still right there, still right on the other side of my fence line from my Hershey girl. Now that we're on this side of 2 weeks, if my cows will be quiet, there was definitely a lot of takeaways from the last 2 weeks. The first takeaway is obviously preparedness. While I know that you can't prepare for everything, you definitely can prepare for the basics, you know. We had never had bottle babies come up here before. We've always had really good births here on our farm, and our mamas have always done very well with their babies. So that just wasn't something that I was prepared for, obviously. So there definitely can be some growth in the livestock preparedness department. My next takeaway is community is so important in homesteading and farming and just in life in general. Had I not been part of a homesteading moms community, a lot of the things that I got on the weekend or late at night, I wouldn't have been able to get those things without having those homestead mom connections. So friends, community, it's so important to have those connections. That way, if you're having an emergency and you can't get a vet to come out to see you, you have backup. Be a part of a community. It's so important. My third takeaway, make sure that you are established with a livestock veterinarian. I thought that I was a client, but I had passed the year mark of him doing a well check on my farm, and so therefore they would not see me. Luckily, an older veterinarian in my area really helped us out. So thank goodness for that. Make sure you're in good standing with a good livestock vet. Don't take them for granted. I actually have a fourth takeaway. My fence line that's right back there, oh look, you can actually see it right there. That is my electric fence charger. I have electric fence on the pasture that my bull is in. However, Hershey was not trying to get to our bull. She was trying to get to the neighbor's bull, remember? I don't have an electric strand that runs down that pasture line. So lesson learned. If there's a bull, run a hot wire. It's worth it. My fifth takeaway is just keep going. When it gets hard, just put one foot in front of the other and just keep going. Stick with your community and just keep going. Don't let it beat you. So I hope y'all can take something away from this, because that's really the point of my channel. The point of my channel is just to share what we do on our farm, share what works for us, share our failures. But that way y'all can learn and y'all can grow your homesteads and maybe grow a little bit of food of your own. If you're interested in hearing more about growing your own food, check out the American Farmsteaders podcast. We're on all the major podcasting channels, and you can really get some good in-depth conversation about how to grow your own food. Thanks, y'all. What are you doing?